Hello guys, welcome back. In the last lecture, we worked on custom and conditional validations for validating end-to-end attribute of work experience model. Now in this lecture, we will continue with Rails validations, and this time we will look at validating an attribute's value only if it is included in a given list of possible values, and we will use inclusion helper method provided by Rails for such validations. This helper validates that attributes values are included in a given set. In fact, this set can be any enumerable object. Now, let me explain this by an example that in what cases we need this kind of validations. Okay, suppose you want to store gender of a user, then you would like to store only male, female, trans, but you don't want to store any random string like let's say XYZ, ABCD that does not give a meaningful gender value. Okay, so in that case, you can validate this gender value by restricting users to choose only one value from male, female, or trans. Okay, and similarly in our case we will use this validation for employment type and location type attributes, as both attributes can have some specific values and no random string. Okay, so in this lecture, first we will define an array of constant which contains the possible values for employment type and location type respectively, and then validate this using inclusion validation helper. Okay, so first open your work experience model, and here we need to add the employment type and location type constant. So first define employment type. Okay, and here we can provide possible values like let's say full time, part time, self employed, freelance, trainee, and then internship. Okay, and here now you need to define the location type constant. Okay, location type, and provide possible values for it at say as let's say on site, here hybrid, and then remote. Add it as a string. Okay, so now you can see we created the constants for employment type and location type, and we provided some possible values for both attributes as well. Now whenever user provide any value for employment type and location type, that must be either full-time, part-time, self-employed, freelance, trainee, or internship, any of these for employment type. And if the value provided for location type, then it should must be any one of from on-site, hybrid, and remote. Okay, user cannot provide any value other than this that we defined here. Now we need to add validations for this. Okay, so we, because we just defined the constants here, so first remove the employment type and location type from here. Okay, because now we will define their presence true rule in a separate validation. Okay, and now let's add validates employment type. Here first add presence true, and then add inclusion. Okay, and then you need to use in option here. Okay, and to this in option you need to provide your enumerable object. In our case it is employment type. Okay, and now let's do the same thing for location type as well. So location type, presence true, and inclusion. Here you also need to use in option, and to this you need to provide your location type enumerable object. Okay, save this. Since we defined our array constants and the validation rule for employment type and location type, now we need to test whether this validation is working or not in the Rails console. Okay, so first save your work experience model class and then switch to the terminal. Okay, and in the terminal now you need to open a new terminal window. Okay, and here run the command Rails C or Rails console, and now you need to define your work experience instance. So work experience dot new, and then provide all values, all possible values, or all required values here. Let's say start date must be let's say date dot today, minus 3 dot years, company, let's say some company, and employment type must be, let's say, ABC. Okay. I'm just providing wrong values here. Why? Because first I need to check whether this validation is getting failed or not. Okay. So just provide ABC. Now provide location, and location should be, let's say, Indore, India. Location type. Here also provide invalid value, that is, let's say, XYZ. Okay. And then provide job title. Say senior software engineer. Here user ID. So user dot last dot ID. Okay. And then you can use end date, that is date dot today, minus 3 dot days. Okay. And then currently working here as false. Okay. And now run this command. Okay. So you can see that our work experience model has been instantiated. So you can see in the work experience instance what we provided. For employment type we provided ABC, and for location type we provided XYZ. Okay. And in the model you can check that in the employment type array we did not have value ABC, and in the location type we do not have the value XYZ. Okay. That means our work experience instance should be invalid. Okay. So you can run we.valid, and you should see false here. Okay. So we are getting false here. That means our validation is working. Now you can see the messages. So we dot errors dot messages, and here you can see employment type, it is not included in this list, and location type is, it is not included in the list. Okay. That means our inclusion helper is working. Okay. And that's what we want to do. However, this was just a very basic use of inclusion helper. It gives you the default error message. For example, here you can see is not included in the list, is not included in the list. It is provided by as default whenever you use inclusion validation helper. Okay. Now if you want to customize your message, then you can also do that, and we will see how we can do that. So we just need to add the message option with the inclusion helper. Here you can see we use the in option here. Now we just need to use message option here to see that to provide our custom error messages. Okay. So let's try that message, and here you can add, let's say, is not a valid employment type. Okay. And similar message you can use for location type as well. So here what we can do is not a valid location type. Okay. Now let's save the work experience model and test this validation with custom error message again. So first we need to reload the console because we make some changes in the model file. Okay. So in the running console you need to reload it. Okay. And now reinstantiate your work experience model. Okay. And then you need to see whether your work experience instance is valid or not. So you will see false, and now look for the errors. So here you can see employment type is not a valid employment type, and location type you are seeing error that it is not a valid location type. Okay. So by using message option with inclusion helper, you can see that we can see the custom error messages. Okay. And that's it. Okay. So in this lecture, you learn how to validate model attributes using inclusion validation helper and how to customize the default error messages. Okay. In the next lecture, we will start working on forms for work experience model. So try this lecture at your end, and we will meet into the next lecture. Till then, tata, goodbye, take care, and stay safe.